Welcome to this special edition of the LaunchPad Innovators Podcast. Today, I'm joined by my lifelong friend, Wayne Williams, a seasoned leader, entrepreneur, innovator, and outdoor enthusiast whose journey spans everything from tech startup to restorative work on a ranch in Montana. Wayne's story is one of resilience, creativity, and forward-thinking leadership. We'll talk about his early days in business, lessons from the dot-com era, including some struggles, which he definitely overcame, building a culture of innovation, and what it means to live your legacy every day. We'll also dive into how Wayne is helping prepare our region for the future, especially as AI and emerging technologies reshape the economic landscape. I'm Bill Kalivas, and this is the LaunchPad Innovators Podcast. Let's go. Wayne Williams.
It's great to be here.
Yeah,
good to see you.
How you doing, my friend?
Really good, thanks.
Yeah, so Wayne Williams and I go back, I don't know, since 7th grade. We grew up together. Yeah. Wayne grew up. I sort of aged. But
not at all.
Wayne and I go back all the way to 7th grade, but kind of reconnected after I moved back from Silicon Valley, and Wayne was running Telect. And that's a whole story that we'll have to hear, but you're doing some really amazing stuff. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Bill.
I have been such a fan, and you've mentored me. You've helped me in so many ways, and you're an inspiration to me and others.
Thank you.
But it was really important for me to have you do this for a few reasons, and people will hear a little bit more about why. But mostly for people who really don't know your story and your background, you want to share a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, I think I'll share the first part of it. The story generationally goes back quite a few years to my great grandfather Luke Williams had Williams Neon and Sign Company, and then when my great uncles decided to start American Sign and Indicator in Spokane, which was at one time the largest time and temperature sign company, I think in the world, and they started that. And so I'm a big believer in succession and kind of the ancestral transitions today. And then my dad went to work for them, and at one point he put out his resume while he was working for them because they were looking for a senior role. And my great uncle said, "Well, Billy, I know that's yours," and he said, "But you have the wrong last name," which really started another pioneering venture. And we're a family of pioneers. And then my dad went in the telecom industry, and the last thing I really wanted to do was work with my dad. I wanted to move back to Alaska where I was born, hunt and fish, and get as far away from my dad as I could. And I had epilepsy when I was a kid, so then from 3 until about 13 when I outgrew it, that kept me out of the military and kind of stopped my path of going anywhere, right? Because it was getting right close to out of high school, and we started September 13th, 1982, so I was the first employee there. So I wasn't a founder, but I was kind of founder-ish, if you will, at the time. So I kind of grew up there. So that's kind of the beginning story of just this entrepreneurship. I started selling praying mantises when I was 5, and I sold my first cow in 5th grade to Mr. Buchanan, and then I ended up starting a fly shop at 12 years old and sold to guys my age today. When I was 12,
so you
13,
had that
14.
Entrepreneur bug.
Yeah, it just was
early.
Always a bug. Yeah,
truly a bug.
It is a bug.
Well, let's back up just for a second, because I remember you in high school as being very fun and always smiling. And honestly, I didn't remember until you just mentioned the epilepsy.
Yeah,
I do remember that in some of our conversations. Yeah. And it's interesting that it went away. I mean, did it affect you later in life at all as you were growing?
Yeah, I feel like it was the demerit that I couldn't get off my record,
Wow.
If you think about that. So I was starting to fly at 19. I always wanted to fly, and then the doctor that was also the military doctor said I couldn't fly because I'd had if you think about that, outgrowing that at 13, now I'm 19, and if you have a seizure within 10 years, you can't do anything basically. So I kind of waited on that, and then in 2005 I tried again, and the guy that I didn't go to the right doc, and he said, you shouldn't be doing anything dangerous, and I said, "What's that?" He goes, he said, "Well, like driving," and I rode there on my Harley, so I'm like, I've been in high altitude snowmobiling at high altitude and hunting in 12,000 feet. So that was kind of a little bit of a miss. And then in 17, I got cleared to fly.
Okay.
And I hadn't had, anything for 40 years. But then I had a ranch. And so you learn quickly that when you're flying, it's better to have friends that have planes and let you focus on what you're being called to at the time, which for us was restoring the ranch that we had. And it's not like riding a bike. When you're flying, you got to fly regularly.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of stuck with me, but I'm free of that right now.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I do remember a little bit when we were in high school. I remember Darren Hughes and some of the folks that you were pretty good friends with talking about this company that you and your family were kind of talking about starting in your garage, basically around fiber and cables and things like that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think, they might have even been at 16. My dad hadn't started the company yet, and he was doing some testing. We had briefcases in our garage of testing cathode ray tubes for television sets, which we don't even today, those aren't there. And so that was kind of the beginning of doing other things that were entrepreneurial. And then when Telex started, we were pretty much all graduated, by that time. And I didn't really find out about the company starting till 3 weeks before it was going to start. So the formation had kind of been, a little bit before then. And then just walking into an empty building in the Spokane Industrial Park and, cutting cable and sweeping floors and kind of running telephone lines. And I was just, it absorbed me. I mean, from an early age.
Yeah. Well, so Telect is formed. You're employee number one. And take us through the early years of Telect, because one of the things we're going to talk about later is this upcoming event we have on February 26th. You've agreed to be the keynote speaker. It's a follow-on to our Innovate INW Momentum event that we had. Yeah, and I think it's important when we invite people on the podcast, but also to be part of that initiative. One of our key focus areas is helping founders, help support founders, entrepreneurs. We'll talk about the need for really ramping that up quite a bit, especially in this AI era. But let's talk about your journey early on at Telect, and that just to walk us through the Telect history real quick, if you can.
Yeah, early 18, meet my wife 6 months after we start, decide that's where you got to grow where you're planted, still not sure what I was going to do. So we got married in 1984. So this month we're celebrating 42 years, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And so in that mode, I think the creativity and there's a couple things that are foundational. I think you got to go back to your childhood and learn, what worked, what didn't, and kind of what your passions were. And the one thing that I was passionate about was just around people and creating. It was an innovation, just space for me. Everything that I looked at. So now I come in the fly and actually selling flies and building fly rods from 12 to 18 during that time. That gave me interaction with guys my age today. So so for that, they'd have a discussion with you and they would encourage you and give you value, which increases your value by telling you thank you. And I love the thank you for your service and thank you for paying me. It's like one of those things. So early on, just really working around with the other team of people. And I have a weird sense of seeing things not what they are, but what they can be. It's just in nature. So I'm a futurist activator. So I see the future. If today, and I've been this way my whole life, if today we're off direction on what the future is going to be, then I want to activate today. And that can get me into trouble too at the same time. So I think the first major shift in the business was in 1986. I would have been 23, and we had a product line we were selling, DSXs, digital signal cross connects, and there was a real complicated situation. The Bell operating companies used 23-inch racks, and the independent operating companies used 19-inch racks to store equipment. And our main competitor, who was probably 20 times our size at the time, they didn't have a solution, and customers just were saying, hey, if you can put 56 of these jacks inside of a 19-inch rack, we'd be buying it. And so here's this 23-year-old, no engineering mind, anything else, coming into the engineering group and say, I got an idea. I think I know how to make this work. I've run the numbers, the calculations. on the jacks. I know that spacing, and we can't traditionally install them the same way. We've got to change the structure of the face. And so we went from concept to completion in 6 weeks, and we rolled the product out. And I was arguing with people all the time, guys that are smarter than you, and they have more experience, just disrupting the whole thing. And we ended up doing it. And I remember within a year we rolled it out. We never got a patent on that product. It actually didn't really believe in it. The telecom industry wasn't really big at it, and it would have said if we'd have received a patent for that, it probably would have changed the overall course of the trajectory. But I remember there's 2 guys from our competitors that came into our trade show booth, and I caught them sitting there, and they were counting the jacks to make sure there were actually 56. They'd never seen one. They just heard about it. And they said, we almost lost our jobs over this.
Wow.
They said, we've been challenged with this same thing for years.
And you guys figured it out.
And we figured it out. And then they ultimately, a year later, rolled a product out to it. But that started the innovation, I think, in the business. And
you saw a business need.
And
adapted and innovated and worked with your team to do it, even though you got a lot of pushback.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love that. So then fast forward, through the Telex journey, if you can.
Yeah, I tried to resign 4 times in the next 10 years. That's the real for those that are in family businesses.
Had a tough boss.
Yeah, I had a tough boss. My dad and I, interestingly enough, socially and rationally on the personalysis are similar, but instinctively, when they say instinctively, that's like if a coyote gets its leg caught in a trap, what's it want to do? It wants to bite everything around you. Well, that would be my dad. So. And I am the ultimate disruptor. So things are just, and so I would no, we're going to challenge it this way. And, I think it was then that I came in, a couple of hard stories, I think for me were, I remember in 1991, I was walking with my dad on a trade show. And at that time, and I just said, we were $16 million a year in revenue at the time. And I said, we're going to do $99 million in 1999. And my dad stopped and he looked at me. He said, "What?" And I said, "We'll be at 99 million by 1999." And he was just dumbfounded. And really, he had not seen a business that he'd managed get above 6 to 7 million before. And so we were already about 10 million above his ultimate thought and dream. And so then over the next couple of years, there was a little bit of a battle, and that was me wanting to take control. I mean, literally young, as we all do. I think 25 to 35, you're invincible, you want to take control. And that's when I started really learning the tensions between founders that are ahead and generational foundership, and there's only one title that cannot be transitioned, and that is the founder title. Yeah. President, CEO, all the others can be transitioned. So I think with that, what it did was my dad had in a moment like 1992 said, if I had to pick a president today, it wouldn't be you. And then I just snapped back and said, well, you'd be making a mistake. And then that's when I went and attended Harvard Business School's owner-president management program. And it was awesome. Within the first week of the 3-week program, I was being asked where I got my secondary degree, and I didn't have a degree.
Sure.
And so I think then I became president. After the first year, I came back from that, and then I had a great team, and I just started structuring the team to handle growth. And just a quick fast forward, 1999, we finished at 168 million. So
that's
it was
amazing.
It was remarkable.
That's amazing. Well, kudos to you, obviously, for building that, even in the face of some headwinds that were internal, but also and kind of human behavioral kind of challenges too. I mean, like you said, founders. You don't replace founders.
No.
There's only one. And there's such a pride of, ownership and pride of the founding part of it that it's tough. Sometimes that's a tough conversation, obviously.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones I have the most fun with. And usually it's pride that steps in.
Right.
And, we just restored the ranch in the last 7 years. And so if you think about that, these logs, we had bats and mice and squirrels in all these buildings, and we restored them. And if I bring people to the ranch today, they never see the restoration process. They don't see the ugliness that happens. Yeah. And so, but that's what founders do. They talk about all the ugliness that happened. Right. Which in the moment today, nobody knows that. Yeah. Nor do they need to. But then what founders want to do, they want to protect anybody from having those negative experiences. Right. I call it willing to fail, WTF, in my book, and it's like it is. You don't want people to fail, but yet you want to fail.
Yeah.
You need people to fail. Founders fail, or they nearly fail in their business. I don't know a story out there from Michael Jordan to anyone else that does not have failure as part of what they've learned in their experience. So when you protect and accommodate safety, there's not a generation or anybody else that can ever step in and meet that expectation. And so the message of that is for me, to the founder or the one that's handing things off is, who are you and what's your identity in the next season? Because their identity is everything that they've done.
Well, I want to get to the ranch. I want to get to Grab Another Gear, your business, your book, everything that you're doing is amazing, and I want to talk about that. Let's finish up with Telect real quick.
You bet.
So Telect went through a pretty tough time.
We did.
Let's talk about that valley that was brutal. I went through it. I was at Cisco at the time. And I was in Silicon Valley from 95 to 99. I think I came back in 99, and that's when I reconnected with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were VP of sales. Or no, I think you were president.
I was CEO by 99.
Okay. So you were running the show. Talk about 99 through, the if you can, the exit.
Yeah. Well, the dot-com boom is what we called it. I think I'd had a board, a pretty strong board with me coming into 2000 off $168 million. We were projecting close to $300 million the next year, and the order rates were just continuing to climb. I also was starting the process of taking the company public.
Right.
Had a company in mind to acquire, and to give you kind of the scale of it, our business was heading to $300 million. We were worth at one time in the IPO market $1.7 billion on paper, and so that meant the company that I wanted to acquire was $800 million, and there's no way you have cash during that time. So we were profitable, we were doing very well. Our customers, our employees were just dynamite. The team was there, had just continued to grow. We had a lot of great things going. So now we're starting the IPO roadshow, and I think that's some other times that I entered into real challenges. I had a 26-year-old banker, arguing with me over the valuation in the fourth quarter and telling me you should raise it. And I said, I'm not going to. This is what we said we're going to do in the first quarter out. And so you have to stand on your convictions and principles. He said, well, your competitor's showing a higher one. I said, well, we're not going to. I'd rather beat expectations than fail on them on the first time out. The hard part, too, is I felt this weight of the community, because we had people that had already been talking about mortgaging, extra mortgages, putting money into the business, which was going to be about, I think we ultimately thought we were going to be priced between $10 and $13 a share. I remember starting that roadshow. There's lots of stories I could go into, Bill. We don't even have time, but I remember starting that roadshow, and then I'm in Seattle, and I'd really been praying just specifically to God. I said, show me a sign and give me this thing of the door being open or closed. So I get this call from Deutsche Bank, and we were going to leave on the day after Thanksgiving. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm supposed to leave for Europe the day after. And we're excited. I mean, we literally had like a band, the Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club band. We were playing that. Our employees were ready all when I started this roadshow, and so now I get this call, and our price dropped from like 11 to 13. It was going to 9 to 11, and then now it was going to be 7 to 9. And so they're talking to me about this, and I said, well, what other people on the roadshow are seeing this? And they said, you're the only ones on the roadshow. So we literally were like one of the last people starting this roadshow. And I knew companies, friends of mine, that had just gone public in the last 90 days. And so I felt like, oh, that's the message. We need to stop. So I called a meeting with the board. I told them I postponed the IPO roadshow that day. Just postponed it. I thought we were still going to do it. Then December 7th hits, and I hear an argument going on in the upper part of our area between our VP of Ops and, it's really my CFO, and Stan and Jeff, and they're talking about, like, hey, we got to slow this baby down. The order rate's starting to change. So that's when we really started seeing the order rate change. And then pretty quick, you fast forward to the turn by February 2001, I'm calling for our first layoff. So I like to say that most of us that went through it and survived from January 2000 to January 2002 were part of the 70-70 club. We 70% growth and 70% decline within 24 months.
Wow.
So it was a fascinating, which entered me into what I call my valley of the shadow of death leadership.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with you at that time. It was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing such a good job of trying to remain optimistic.
Uh-huh.
And you had to.
Yep.
I mean, you still had employees. What was the peak employee account at Telec at one
About
time?
2,300.
Yeah.
And we had operations in the UK, Poland, had an operation in Shanghai, Campinas, Brazil, Mexico, and here.
Yeah. So you had a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, as you said, and that's a lot. I mean, that's a heavy weight, especially during that unbelievably confusing time.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people I talk to that know that I worked at Google Cloud and I was in the AI kind of race, and they say, "Well, we're in a bubble. You know, it's going to be like the .com bust." And I'm like, "Well, there's quite a bit of difference in what it was like then and what's going on now."
Mm-hmm.
Then you had quite a few companies that were receiving tons of venture capital at high valuations that had no revenue.
Right.
And it was a completely different type of bubble. And then you had companies like yours that were really part of the infrastructure build out, right? The telecommunications side, which was exploding prior to that. And now you have this bubble. I agree it's a sort of bubble, maybe the hype bubble, maybe the media and hype bubble and the data center build out bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But most of these companies investing, the Mag 7, and they have tons of revenue.
Right.
They also have tons of cash.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in the way people look at it that I hear, that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean there's not a sort of perceived bubble, in my view.
Yeah.
But there's also several companies creating AI models, hyperscalers, and others that are still generating tons of revenue in other sources, not from just AI.
Yeah.
So I kind of view it that way. That we could see a downturn, but I think there's some different fundamentals than the .com bust. That's just my opinion.
Do you want me to respond?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I do agree. I think there is fundamental differences. I think that if you look at the last 25 years, so take that .com bust that happened, it was very, very market specific.
Mm-hmm.
It really hit. And what we were doing on the infrastructure build is we were really building 10 interstate highways, if you will, like I-90s of fiber across the United States when we really only needed 1.5.
Yeah.
And so it's that much. And then we had people that the lead times got so long that people were double buying, triple buying. I mean, like all of our distributors would buy from one company because they wanted to win the business. And so that looked like 5 times the load to us that wasn't real. So there was a lot of, I think what it taught me is knowing your customer isn't enough.
Yeah.
Knowing your customer's customer is everything.
I hear that so often.
Yeah, it is just that. So I would say that you're right. I thought, but then in 07, 08 real estate crash, we saw subsidies that probably in the same way that kind of caused that real estate market.
Right.
I got called back into our church after COVID, and I thought, man, I got all sorts of experience because you guys didn't go through the .com bust, so I can come in and help during COVID. And I sit down there, and there was one thing that I didn't count on, and that was the federal government stepping in and flushing that with money. Yep. Which causes an imbalance anyway. So now you bring it to today with AI. I would love to be a CEO right now. From what I know today with AI, it's the most high. It will be to your point. It's not the same, and the reason it's not the same isn't. I don't think it's tied to what you were sharing, but I think it's the same because I don't need a SaaS model anymore because I can create my own. And I've been for the last 4 years. I've been working. I've got like 15 to 20 AI tools I work with, and I probably work 3 to 4 hours a day in AI. Starting in the morning, and it's just remarkable to me what can be done. So you saw that this last week with what's going on in the market, because when you've got all these small businesses now, if you think founders today, startups today, they can start with a lot less capital today. Right. And if they're doing some
these tools are
they're amazing.
Incredible.
Yep.
We'll talk about.
You bet.
No. You're an innovator, and you're a thought leader, and you're way ahead. So we'll get to the AI era pressure that everybody's feeling right now. So Telec, talk about the exit. Like, lead us up to that, and then we'll go on to the other stuff.
I think that I think I said, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I kind of felt like for about 5 years I was the CEO of Almost.
Yeah.
I almost went public, and then almost went bankrupt, and then almost signed with 2 different venture or private equity companies, and then I almost sold the business twice in the early day. I mean, so in 4 or 5 year period, it was like the almosts, and there really wasn't a lot to begin with. In fast forwarding that you could do in the space for a long time that actually made a material difference. You had to, and for us, we had to develop every product that we were developing every year was like replacing 25% of the previous year's revenue. So it was like you're still trying to find the right customers and do that. So fast forward, all 3 of my kids had an opportunity to intern in our business, and which I'm a believer that every business needs to allow for their children or other people to come in and work. Not everybody needs to stay in the business, but just the exposure gives you skill sets that you can take somewhere else and be great citizens in the community and society. And so the only one that really had a passion for it was Spencer in our business, that he wanted to stay in it, and he kind of had the product mind and that. So little did I know that I was already working on succession plan in mind, and we were doing well. We'd got the business kind of stabilized. We exited all of the external businesses except Mexico, which was key to our business in North America, and we were still shipping to Europe and that, but not as much. And so we really just had to hunker back and kind of re-pioneer the business. And I'm a big believer, Tuckman's model of forming, storming, norming, and performing. I think it's a mistake to stay in performing. I think you always got to be pioneering because you just don't know. Like if people were still trying to perform in the last 2 years of model, even private equity investments, just in hopes it's going to pass what AI can do, it's highly dislocated. So anyway, we were going along, had a couple companies contacting us, and we weren't really for sale at all. We weren't looking at selling the business. And then we had Amphenol come along and come out and visit and talk to us. And we weren't sure, but we thought, we'll invest. And I had about 5 things that were important if we're going to sell is could the business stay in the community?
Right.
Could the product line still have integrity and last? Would the employees be good in both the facilities? And then ultimately, like, with the shareholders, would it be good for the shareholders too?
Yeah.
And so we started down the path, and Amphenol's just highly unique because they look for businesses that have successors, or the founder's going to stay in the business, or the leader's going to. Sure. And at this point in time, I had pretty much had Spencer kind of modeling more and more. And so I came in, and they ultimately, July 5th of 2017, acquired Telect. And today, Amphenol Network Solutions is probably we'll be getting close to revenues that we were having in the old days, just with what's happening, because just they're doing a good job. I don't even know the total revenues, but the business and the team, most of the team members are there. There's new team members that have been hired and brought in from outside the area. So it's been exciting to see that, but that kind of.
And they stayed.
Yeah, they stayed,
and
their model is to let the entrepreneurs stay in their business, run it, and apply for capital when they need to invest, which is it's a great model.
I love that. Well, that's good. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
To you on that, and for sticking with it.
You bet.
You saw some tough times.
Oh yeah.
So I think the reason I wanted people to hear your story, obviously, was to understand your journey, understand some of the road rash you got, some of the pain that you experienced. Like you said, you can't keep people in a bubble and expect them to learn all these life lessons if they just don't learn them on their own.
Right.
It's impossible to learn it from a book or a Netflix special.
Yeah, it's experienced. Everything's got to be experienced.
You have to. And it's. I love what you said about kids, too, being involved. So let's talk about after Telect. What'd you do? And then kind of lead us into the ranch, because that's such a cool story.
Yeah, I've got, while I was at Telect, I did the Townsend Leadership Program down in Newport Beach. John Townsend and Henry Cloud wrote the book Boundaries. I flew down every month for 48 months. So I just went down there, and then my wife did it for 2 years as well. And it was just foundational to kind of me getting to understand where I was at, and kind of dealing, I would even say, with, childhood wounds. And today my wife and I are primal question coaches, and we do that with individuals and also couples. Mike Foster's book, The Primal Question. And what you find out is that fourth grade, 9 to 11 years old, there's wounds that take place, and but the wounding isn't always a bad thing because it turns into a gift later in life. But we sometimes go back to the kid logic that we had before.
Right.
So I discovered a lot of that. And then John, when I flew down and we walked on Dana Point down in
I love that area. Yeah.
We just walked, and he asked me, "Hey, how are you gonna handle it when everybody knows you didn't sell the business for what it could have done in 2000?" I said, "I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. It's a different time." And so I had to answer all these questions. And then he said, "Okay, usually I have 3 words for people." And he said, "But my 3 words for you are all the same." And he said, "What you have to do next, you have to find what you're passionate about, and you're passionate about." And I said, "I'm passionate about a lot of things." He goes, "No, you're not." And I go, "Yeah, I'm passionate about a lot of things." "No, you're not." And I said, "John, I'm passionate about a lot of things." He goes, "No, you're not. You're enthusiastic about a lot of things. Passion's sustainable." And so it was like, powerful. And then I couldn't do anything for a year. I could experiment, which I did. I did a CEO search for a company. They wanted to hire me, and I said, "I'll find your CEO." That was an experiment, wasn't anything there. I still did coaching. I still was doing mentoring at the time, quite a few outside the area, not as much here. And then my Spencer had stayed at the place we had in northern Idaho. We call it Tiny Rivers, up out of Priest River, before it sold. And he called us up and said, "Hey, if you guys are ever thinking about," he's got a grandchild now, our grandchild, and if you're thinking about that, that was really foundational to us as kids growing up, learning the outdoors, being in the wilderness. And so we just started a search for, it had to be in Idaho or Montana, because we spent most of our lives hunting, fishing, and camping in those 2 states. And so we started searching, and we ended up finding this distressed ranch in Petty Creek out of Alberton, and it had 5 old growth log homes built in 79 and 80. It had bats. We'd go in there at night. Sometimes the bats would be inside the house. And it was just distressed over a period of time. And so we got there, and back in 99, we wanted to build something like this for executive retreats and marriage retreats.
Right.
And we just felt like the Lord had said, "Hey, no," after the dot-com bust. So now you fast forward to 2018, and it took Trina and I until about 2020 to realize that, no, maybe it was just wait. It wasn't the right time. And so then we started restoring the logs and the ranch. We started restoring the land. I had Scottish Highlanders when I was a kid, so we had 42 Scottish Highlanders last week. We have 38 now. So
wow.
We just got 3,000 pounds of meat coming in the freezer this week. But and so we started to just redeploy, and then we started having people visit. We had some Ronald McDonald House of Charities, Young Life, Mountain West executive team and their team, and church groups. And then we started to do some teaching and retreats. And we weren't just seeing, we weren't just seeing the ranch restored. We started seeing lives restored, and which was really who Trina and I have always been, is we've really cared most about anything is about people.
Sure.
And that's why my passion is for all of the people for startups, not just the founder. It's the accredited investors, it's the board, it's the it's all of them. And so then that restoration was powerful. This last year, we had a gentleman and his wife in 2024 come up, and they're basically handling all of our bookings, handling everything. Yeah. So it's kind of freed me up in this next stage to kind of re-engage, kind of get back, utilize a lot of what I've learned, some of the coaching stuff, and just help people in this next phase.
I love that. So it's called it's
Petty Creek.
Petty Creek.
Yeah. PettyCreekMountainRanch.com.
Okay.
Yep.
And for folks that are interested in looking at it for retreats, just getting away with a group of people, maybe your organization, what's the ideal kind of way to frame who would really benefit?
Yeah,
from
if you don't want to, not that there's anything wrong with hotels to do it, but if you want to change neurologically how your teams are working, you'll spend time in the wilderness. And we've had people. We have groups come in. We only do groups. We don't rent at all to individuals.
Right.
And it's for uninterrupted connections. And it's amazing what happens around a campfire or on a walk in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And we are surrounded by Lolo National Forest on 4 sides.
So Atherton?
Alberton.
Alberton.
It's 30 minutes this side of Missoula.
Gotcha.
Off I-90.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's 2.5 hours.
Yep, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So just check out the website, and then they'll look at. But we normally look the groups for 8 to about 22. We can handle more, but it's a perfect size for a executive team or leadership team.
Well, let's pivot to grab another gear.
Okay.
Because you've been associated with that for a long time, and you and I talked about that long time ago, and that term and that title came up. Mm-hmm. We've got about maybe 5-10 minutes to talk about that, and then I want to talk about this next phase, which is this AI era and what's happening with founders, board, all the stuff that you're going to talk about at the event.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been wanting to had stories to write a book for years. In October of 24, Trina said, "You just got to start writing this book." And so I started, and I engaged a guy that's kind of my coach and co-writer out of Georgia. And so we started to write, and I was writing it to my 20-year-old self. And so I need to share the genesis of this. The older you get, I have a high risk preference and a risk tolerance by nature. So I will do things that other people won't do, and I'll say things to disrupt stuff quickly that they won't do. And when I ended up acquiring the business in 2004, that was $800 million in 2000 that we couldn't acquire, we acquired them for $2.2 million. And I specifically remember in the middle of the night waking up and hearing a voice, and I'm confident it was God, saying, "Wayne, what would you do with the wisdom and knowledge you have today 10 years ago?" And that has stuck with me since 2004. So I've had this going on the whole time. So with the wisdom and knowledge today that we have, what would we have done 10 years ago? And it's not to go back and have hindsight management. It's more about holding that risk tolerance where you were, because the older you get, you'll become less or more risk adverse. So now forward to the book, she said, "You need to do this, and you got to start writing it." So we start writing it, and I was writing it to my 20-year-old self, and then when it's going, I'm going, no, I'm writing it to my kids and grandkids. And then I take 10 chapters and I send out to about 20 people and say, "Tell me what you think of this." And so pretty quick I have all this response like, "Wow, this is an amazing start, what you're doing like right now. I can't wait to read the rest of it." So we start writing it, and I've got some phenomenal endorsers on it that have just been right there with me along the way. And it turned into really what I call as a soul wake-up manual. The concept around it is everybody has a rally cry. So I start out in the beginning with a rally cry. And then I talk about identity in the next course. They're divided in courses and laps, not chapters and and sections.
Sure.
And so then the next course is identity after rally cry, and then I talk about legacy. And so it's interesting. My approach on legacy is different. I think we live our legacy every day. And when you and I are done with this is an ancestral moment. It's what happened yesterday.
Right.
So a lot of times we look at what's the ancestry, and a lot of people hang on to their ancestry.
Yeah.
And it holds them back. And so for me, it's like, no, you've got to live your legacy every day. And then I go into, after legacy, I go into relationships. And we have relationships with everything. You and I have relationships with people, but we have them with hobbies, and we have them with things. And it's fascinating how easy it is to acquire relationships today and how difficult it is to get rid of them. I mean, if you think about that drawer you have in your house or in your garage, something that's there, you just seem to can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And those things do
We're
hold you back.
emotional hoarders.
We are, and I experience this. So I'm writing this still as I experience it. And then finally I have decisions in there, and those are rhythms and stuff that have helped me. And I've really only got a few stories in there. And the idea for the book is really that somebody can sit down by themselves and walk through it and discover what their passion is, what their convictions are, who they are, and kind of set a new course if they're stuck. Didn't know when I started this in 24 that that's going to end up being a lot of people because the career ladder is broken because of AI, and we can touch on that in a minute. So then finally on these decisions, and then what I did that's fascinating, because I think convictions are the most important thing. You have preferences and convictions. And convictions are those things that when you are called upon to do something that you don't believe in doing, it makes you quickly really answer and say no. And you have to have people around you that can help hold you to your convictions. And so at the end of the book, I have my obituary. And my theme is in 2064, I will have punched through 100. And that's 101 years of age. And people look at me and go, I don't know if I want to live to 100. I go, no, but you got to live every day like you're going to live to 100. Every single day. And you hope that in living there, you're not leaving a destructive wake behind you.
Sure.
You are actually living and caring about other people that are out there in a humble way and still, trying to move things forward. And they're going to be sad when I'm gone. I hope. If they're not sad, I've read some obituaries that have shown up, over the course of the last few years of people writing about a parent or someone that they knew that were horrible. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to live that way. And so that's ultimately the case. But you could do this by yourself, or you could also do it with a small group, like your pit crew. I call them pit crew members. And we have a workbook coming out with it as well.
Well, I love that so much because I've heard from so many people who are reflecting back on their lives. And I love listening to people older than us that say, write your own obituary and share it with people and see what their reaction is. And then get them to write one. The sooner you know how people see you now, the more you can change some of that behavior that you're like, wish I wasn't doing that. But I love what you're doing. But the whole time you were telling, the story, I'm like, well, his passion is people. Your passion is humans.
Exactly.
And can they reach their potential?
Yeah.
And that is what is so interesting to me, is I'm there with you. I cannot stand unrealized potential.
Yep, exactly.
It just drives me crazy in sports, in life, in business, in everything. And more than anything, in people.
Yeah.
And part of it is my own background, but I think we should talk about what we're doing going forward. I do want to ask you one question before we get there. This is really something I'm examining in my own life. We're both 62. Do you live in the present? Do you really enjoy? Because you're a forward thinker. You're thinking forward. You're not clinging to the past like so many people do with their own traumas, and that's real. How do you enjoy the moment and be present?
Yeah, that's. If my wife is watching this right now, she just can't wait till how I'm going to answer this.
Take a minute if you need to.
I don't live in the present. It's actually one of the. But I don't live in the past.
Okay.
I live.
Okay.
What I would say that if there's anything that has been hard, and we're trying to, as a couple, we're both project people, and we are. We're constantly getting asked to do things, and that we say yes to, and so our challenge is to prioritize us, and not say the yeses for everybody else. So I'm just being honest. That's what happens, and so. And I look, and my wife is really good at living in the present. She doesn't live in the past, lives in the present. Trina's just awesome with that. And so our biggest challenges in there is I'm living in the future too much. And I'm like looking out 3 years, 5 years and saying, hey, we got to change trajectory. Now this works for me to talk about in business. And, when my kids were young, and there's a story in the book there when I pulled the whiteboard out. And my wife said, "Well, we're not. We're not at work. We're not at work. You're putting that whiteboard down."
I've done the whiteboard.
I know.
Thing.
Yeah. Most of us learned that doesn't work.
No. Listen, I only say that because my oldest son, is very spiritual and very connected and very grounded and dearly, such a good story. But we got 2 tattoos, matching tattoos right here, and that's my only tattoo. And it's Greek for stay present.
Oh, wonderful.
And
wonderful.
It's a silly thing, and we both talk about it. And he lives in Hawaii, and he comes here periodically. But he keeps me grounded. And he reminds me to stay present.
Yeah.
And he reminds me to look at everything like in the moment. And I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm always looking forward.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit tricky, but time slows down a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And you've accomplished so much. And I know you're not one of those people to dwell on that and talk about that or talk about yourself, your successes. But I think the way you live is such a motivator for many, many people.
Thank you.
And it's by your actions. And if you can slow down and really enjoy it and take a moment, I think that would be my wish for you.
I appreciate
as a
that.
friend.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Because you have so much and you've given so much. So anyway.
Thank you. No, thanks, Bill. That's good. It's I'm glad I showed up today for this counseling session because I needed it.
I'm saying it to myself, man. I'm
good.
thinking, why did Gonzaga lose last night?
I run a drift boat when I've got guys fly fishing, so in my drift boat.
Yeah.
The guy on the drift boat's always looking ahead when you're floating down a river.
That makes sense.
It's just
Thank God.
like a role, but I embrace the role too much and I can't. This is good.
Yeah.
And that's why I like sitting around a fire.
Yes.
Is if I can sit around a fire for 2 hours with somebody, I'm totally present. And
Wayne,
just totally present.
you nailed
it's
it.
Like that's where I want to be, and that's why Montana's been huge
We bought
for
a
us.
cabin up at Deer Lake in 2018, and we grew up, didn't have a lot of money, but we'd go to Newman Lake and we'd go to Liberty Lake. And those fire talks.
Fire talks are
and
everything.
hanging out and getting to know people. And you sit there for hours.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm with you on that. We need more people to get around a fire. All right, let's talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
So LaunchPad in the Northwest, we have been very busy in the last 3 years helping entrepreneurs and founders with our coaching program called Springboard. We've helped a lot of different companies. We've learned a lot, and we do events to help grow the network and really bring people into this community. But something happened. I left Google in April. I took some time, spent time up at the lake, and just reflecting. I did a lot of prayer and searching and kind of understanding what should we do with this LaunchPad thing. It's been kind of plugging along for 2.5 years, and I was a volunteer. I have some great people working with us, and I really started doing some searching on what's going on in our community. And I looked at AI and started researching what the effect is going to be on jobs. And on companies and economies and our own regional economy. And we're obviously not a tech hub to that level. If you look at Seattle and the layoffs they had, to your point, maybe a lot of these companies that depend on SaaS models and those kind of as a service models, it's very scary. And so I started really looking, and I started meeting with entrepreneurs who went through our entrepreneurship program. And I started meeting with universities. I started meeting with all kinds of community leaders. And in September, October, I went to my team and I said, I have an idea. We want to create a partnered kind of collaborative initiative, and I want to call it Innovate, INW, Innovate in the Northwest. And I don't want to call it LaunchPad's, program. I want everyone to have a shared interest in it and shared ownership. And I want to include universities. I want to include founders, investors, people who are on boards, people who are accredited investors and not accredited investors, the organizations that are already here. I said, our region needs to connect and really start to work together to create more businesses, support founders, attract more capital, attract and retain talent, because there's a hurricane, an economic hurricane coming. And everything in its wake is going to be changed. This business community is going to be changed. And I ran into you serendipitously at New Love Coffee in Liberty Lake, and you started telling me about this workshop idea you had because there was something on your heart. Tell me about that.
Yeah, thank you. It is. I'm passionate about this. I think that well, first of all the stuff that you've asked me, I've remained. I was highly acquisitive in buying businesses and then also divesting of them when I was at Telect. Very much like probably 6 to 10. I also started 3 or 4 different startups in the middle of that.
That's right.
Separately, I bought a fly shop, then sold the fly shop. Some of those things. So I am constantly looking at what's going on, paying attention to direction and the challenges. And I think that AI, and some people are talking about this, but if you think about, even if you go back to the Bible being available and then it was created, it was really not until the Gutenberg press came out that the Bible actually made its way, in every other transcripts and everything, made its way out of the hands of scribes and put it into print. That it fundamentally, the scribes, they were some of the highest, most respected and highest paid people at that time. And that whole ecosystem was wiped out. They just no longer were people doing it. They were basically getting things once it happened, go to printing press, people weren't, just continuing to copy and reproduce that. So if you look back at those foundational moments, and then you look at the fear that has happened in the last 150, 200 years. So the minute radio came out, people thought it was of the devil.
Right.
Same with TV, same with internet, same with telephone.
The automobile.
Yeah. Oh, how could we get rid of horses? I mean, we can't do that. So fear keeps people from even experimenting and trying to understand. And you can always find evil that uses things that are for good. You're always going to find it. It doesn't make any difference if it's technologically related or something else, as we know. So I think that's in my life, that's what I'm always, looking for. And that's why I adopted every single AI platform. That people die laughing with me that, from presentations to, and I've written apps and others. And that's kind of back to my 80-year-old, I think I was telling, when 1980, when I was 16, programming, I went to that to become the user of stuff. So fundamentally, I've done the same thing on the jobs. We already have less immigration.
Right.
And we also have more people retiring in the baby boomers. My wife is the last of the baby boomers. They'll be retiring in the next 3 to 4 years. We have more wealth transitioning in the next, at least we think, that a lot of that wealth could even be in the stock market wealth that is getting evaporated right now.
Right.
And so where I'm at right now is these people that are getting displaced, if their significance lies in the job that they had, if you're a medical transcriptionist, which can all be done today, if it's software and that, there is great opportunity, and there still will be great opportunity. The thing is, you got to be grounded in who you are and what you are capable of doing tomorrow. If you live in what you're doing today. I had a guy call me one time and ask, I feel like if I take this new job, he was 30, if I take this new job, that I'm actually being dishonoring to my degree. I mean, literally, people feel that, like I'm dishonoring to my degree. Absolutely not. Your life is a tapestry that has been created to do what's tomorrow. So AI, I will tend to be, at the keynote, I will tend to be highly disruptive. From a community standpoint, I felt like when Expo 74 came in, King Cole, my great uncle, was part of that. And you've got Dave Clack and the group you had this last time. They did a great job with momentum.
Yep.
What's happened is momentum was a flywheel of taking a 50-year stably depressed region of the inland Northwest and get it moving. And I could give you all the scars that took place in there too, not just the wins out of it. And then I became, right after Heidi Stanley was EDC in Chamber, I became the chair of the Spokane, Greater Spokane Incorporated when it was first integrated.
Right.
And the first thing that I did was expand the focus from downtown Spokane to Hilliard, Airway Heights, Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake, Post Falls, and Coeur d'Alene.
Wow.
Like I was trying to get the community, the region that's in that space.
Yeah.
I still have a heart for that. And with the increased BEAD funding that's coming out with the internet right now with fiber into the rural areas, and Idaho being one of the fastest states that people are moving into.
Right.
And with this region having good infrastructure today,
Yep.
we will start seeing more and more people leaving the urban environments of the Blue Coasts to come in here. It's already predicted that one of the greatest beltways is Cody, Wyoming to Cle Elum, Washington in the next 2 decades of growth. And so you can sit back and be a person that said, I don't want growth, the traffic's going to increase and all that.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can sit there and complain about it, or you can move further out.
Yeah.
Or what you can do is go, you know what, it is going to happen because I can't stop it. And so you don't try to stop a steamship with a small boat.
Change is inevitable.
Change is
Growth
inevitable.
is optional.
And you want to learn it, you want to use it, and you want to see what you could do, and you want to
right.
find mentors around you to help you.
Bingo. That's it. And that resonates with me so much. And it just sort of happened, I think, in parallel. We were kind of thinking the same thing. I've been living it through this LaunchPad and then working at Google and in the enterprise IT space. the evolution, right? But you're right about the SaaS models. But I think a lot of the big hyperscalers have so much money, and they're so innovative. I think they'll be able to pivot. Whereas a lot of these companies that just have a SaaS platform and a SaaS business model, they're going to struggle.
Yeah,
because you're right. At your fingertips, you can create a dashboard.
It's remarkable.
So let's talk about. So the event we're talking about is February 26th. It's the Forward Momentum follow-on to the original, the kickoff. And what we're really doing is we're meeting with community leaders over the next 3 weeks to explain this Innovate INW initiative model that we're proposing. It's just a framework, a way to bring people together as a region. I love what you said, all the way over to Montana. What is it? Missoula to Cle Elum, I think.
That's right. That's my focus.
I love that.
Yeah.
But there's so many smaller towns and small regions where you do have entrepreneurs and founders. You do have companies. You do have institutions that really need to participate in this innovation economy, right?
Yeah.
So we focus on two things: founders and providing unbelievable support, mentoring, access to so many of the services they can't find on their own, and then helping them, mentoring them, coaching them, and then introducing them to capital providers when the time is right, right? And then secondly, we're looking at this innovation ecosystem. Where are the gaps?
Yeah.
How can our region connect and work with the higher ed institutions, the researchers, the service providers, right? The IP attorneys and all those folks. But then also the businesses. There's existing businesses that are going to have to rescale.
Oh, yeah.
So we're also working with business leaders that are saying, we're struggling because we're trying to figure out that new product and we need a research partner. So I spent time talking to industry folks who would say that we want to innovate because we know the wave is coming and we're looking at AI and how to use it. But then I talked to research institutions, including higher ed, talking to PNNL soon. They're saying we would love to partner with industry to get our grad students and our research students and faculty involved in more research. And we want to learn from them regarding education requirements for the coming years, especially with AI and innovation. And enrollments are down and tuition and federal grants and all that. So they're all facing financial hardship.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do with this initiative is connect all of these ecosystem elements, create industry sectors where they meet on a regular basis. We bring businesses in to do reverse pitches in healthcare, in aerospace, in all these big industries and say, here's some of the core problems we're facing. And then we will put teams together in each of those sectors to start researching and testing new products and bringing existing products to see if there's partnerships they can develop. They're also disconnected. We want to connect our region. We want them to have the ability to go through Springboard if you're a founder, or we refer them to Spokane Angel Alliance, or we refer them to Tri-City Angels. There has to be a better model that's sustainable, especially for when you and I finally retire. The next generation can step in, improve it along the way, but have that infrastructure of people. I call it the human platform. When people ask me, like, you guys creating a platform like a software? I'm like, no, this is a human platform that we're facilitating more from the ground up. And so that's why I was excited when you said, I'm really interested in what you're doing because the timing is right. And you've agreed to be our keynote for the upcoming event, which I appreciate. But any other ideas or anything that you want to mention prior to the event or really with what you've got going on?
Yeah, I think if this gets out beforehand, it'd probably be helpful. I think that you have to, as you're bringing people together today, you got to focus on scrums, and sprints. And what the problem that in my experience, that I've had with bringing organizations together is everybody comes to the table with their processes and their ideas and their restrictions and their structure. And I'm going to just put a challenge out there to everybody right now to get scrappy, develop scrums just like and sprint, and try to fail forward fast. And instead of trying to make the plan perfect. I mean, when you figure and look at Tuckman's model, that forming aspect, it's forming now. And if you're trying to still stay in your performance zone and you're trying to do something different, you've got to start forming, and then you got to storm really quickly, and then you've got to kind of get it normed and performed. And then I would add the fifth one in there. They got to be pioneers. And this is a pioneering moment that you're calling. It's not, don't try to take the same trajectory of the past. And
Yeah.
and my big message with the founders and the boards and accredited investors is that founders can feel obligated and stay very ingrained on the pitch that they got their capital for, that they
Right.
received capital for,
Right.
which I have watched has led to failed businesses in the community because they won't pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Board members can sometimes come to the board seat and not be disruptive or highlight stuff because they might be more proud of the patch of the business that they're sitting on their right shoulder and saying, I'm part of that, than they are about really putting the challenge together. And I think if you call yourself an accredited investor, you better ask yourself, are you really accredited investor? Because accredited investors of the past really mean, yeah, you'll look at something, but you might follow other investors like the bait ball in the ocean, and you don't know whether there's a predator coming or it's prey. And the reason my challenge is to that is become smart, become understanding. Can you trust the founder? Can you trust the board? Can you understand what the cap table looks like? Because the cap table isn't always what people think it is. And there's a lot of evidence of that right now. And really pay attention to, it's not unusual when you are taking in and receiving debt that if your business fails, the equity holders don't get anything. The debt holders get everything,
Right.
which is the law. So it's not something you can change. It's the way it works. So I think there's an opportunity to become wise. You can grab a lot of intelligence in this next phase and really look at the broader community, not just Spokane. I think we've really focused on Spokane over the years, but people get a lot of choices where they want to live, and rural broadband is making that even more available.
Right.
Everybody returns to Grandpa's house. Grandpa's house is Spokane. Chris Stapleton and Carrie Underwood come to the arena. People need surgery. They need cancer treatment. They come to Spokane.
And an airport.
And I know people that just, my executive director at the ranch, his daughter and son-in-law moved via Brooklyn, New York to Wallace, Idaho, and bought a house. And they're 1099 architects and designers that travel all around the United States. Guess where they fly out of?
That's right.
Spokane.
Yeah.
So I would think that everybody returns to Grandma's table. They return to Grandpa's house. They still will do it. We need to release some control and bring in the next generation.
Yeah. So well said.
Thank you.
So well said.
I did want to say, Bill, if anybody they feel better than it does right now, this was for you with Grab Another Gear. And I want to send you or them the first 2 chapters of the book that's coming out. So if they will do that, just at Grab Another Gear, you just text GEAR, GEAR, at 33777.
Okay.
And I'll send the book out, those first, the introduction, and then also the first 2 chapters.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll try to put that up on the screen.
That'd be great.
During this. So we got to close it out. But man, this is one of those conversations where I want to go off into a bazillion different little, holes or squirrel routes just to kind of figure out how do we flush that out? How do we flush this out? But
I mean, we could do some courses.
That's why you're writing a book.
But I would say even there, the books are basically just a general overview like this is. And I would say you break one topic down to courses at some point in time that you could just really drill down into, because it's really easy to, this sounds like a lot to people, and it is, but you got to get to the point where you're structured, focused. So you got the lane that you need to stay in and you want to stay in.
Well, the thing that I want people to understand that's part of the LaunchPad community, I think we have about 4,000 now that are subscribers or followers. Don't go it alone.
Yep, exactly.
And I think that's what you're really trying to say is learn from my mistakes. Humbly saying I made a lot of mistakes. I definitely learned. I hope I've learned along the way. I want to share with you just some thoughts. Don't have all the answers, but you certainly have had a great story, great life, and the best is yet to come.
Thank you.
But and you're blessed like me. We have amazing women in our lives.
Yes.
That man, if it weren't for that, I'm not quite sure what we'd be doing.
No, I already know that, and then I can't forget my kids and my 7 grandkids.
Yeah.
So it's like they keep me smiling every day.
Same, yeah. We've been blessed, but I really thank you, my friend. You've always been a rock for me. That I've always been able to talk to you, and I just have learned so much, and I'm really having a ball watching your progression. And really appreciate you being a part of the Innovate INW initiative, in that you're going to be our keynote speaker be a mentor to me and others as we're trying to build this. As we want it to be a powerful moment that changes the trajectory of our region from an economic standpoint. We want more people to have opportunities. And you get to help build that infrastructure now. And we want it to be flexible enough, like the new innovation. What's the next AI?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How can we be ready for that and connected with all these elements together? So I really appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You as well.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's gonna be fun.
It is. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and you've done an awesome job. Appreciate your leadership in all of this. And this is kind of your second time around on this, and I'm excited about that because you've got perseverance in you, Bill, and that's I know, and it's great.
Yeah.
You might call it something else sometimes, being crazy, but I really appreciate.
Well, it's my passion.
You sticking to. I know
you said it early on. My passion was really how can this region adapt and overcome this. We're not a second-rate city. We're a first-rate region.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
This region has amazing assets and people.
Yeah.
So how do we help it reach its potential?
That's right.
That's our passion.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right.